CSIR NET exam question selection training and decision making webinar for chemical sciences. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I'm your host Shekhar. Welcome to Rasayanika. And today we are coming together to discuss a very important thing. Now tell me, who doesn't want to qualify this prestigious exam, CSIR NET? Happens twice a year, and this time it is happening in November because of the pandemic. And that means it has become even more important now to discuss some important tips, tricks, and techniques on question selection. Now you see what happens with all of us. When we try to prepare for this exam, we always look for important topics. We look for important books. We always look for techniques to remember. But what happens in those 3 hours of exam is very, very crucial. No matter how well you have prepared, no matter from which Dronacharya you have studied, you are not going to qualify if you do not perform well in those 3 hours of exam. Am I right? Yes. Now, whenever I say those 3 hours, I'm talking about the exam 3 hours. Like it starts, suppose at afternoon 2 o'clock, it goes up to 5 o'clock. So those 3 hours are very, very crucial. Now, suppose you are writing that and you are not able to recall, or you selected the wrong question, then you are not going to succeed. You are not going to qualify. So today we are going to train you on how to select questions, and we have two experts who are going to talk to you in detail in the next 90 minutes. Okay. Now, what nobody is telling you is how to select the question. What nobody is telling you is how to decide whether I should be going after this question or not. And that is where you are left alone to battle with those 120 questions in those 180 minutes. That means you're supposed to take more than 480 decisions while going through all those questions, right? Now, all these mini decisions, a summation of all these decisions results in success. In fact, our life also is a summation of all the decisions we have ever taken. Like we decided to, start Rasayanika. That was a decision. Same way, you decided to write CSIR NET exam. That was a decision. But you have to be right in all your decisions. That's how success comes to you. So this morning I was talking to the experts who are going to present, who are going to talk to you now. So I asked them, what is the difference between success in CSIR NET exam and failure in CSIR NET exam? And they told me it's very simple. All you have to do is figure out which question you want to target and which question you want to leave. So for that matter, in the first half second or 1 second, as soon as you glance at that question, you should be able to decide whether you want to go after that question or not. Now, I know it looks difficult at this juncture, but trust me, by the end of today's webinar, you are going to learn all those techniques, all those tips, tricks, and minute, fine details, which will help you certainly in your CSIR NET exam. So let me remind you, we are not going to talk about any other tips and tricks. We're going to focus only on those 3 hours, and we want to sharpen your focus so that you can qualify, you can select the right question, and you qualify. All right. And after that, I will meet you at the end with some surprise gift, with some important announcements as well. So don't go away. And the PowerPoints of this webinar will also be given to all of you if you are a member of Rasayanica's Telegram group. So don't forget to join Rasayanica's Telegram group. We'll share the link shortly in the chat. Okay. So are we ready to get started? Yes? Okay. So if you are ready to get started, type in the chat box, eager to learn, ETL. Just type in the chat box, ETL, and I'll pass on the controls to our first speaker. Yes? All right. So here we go. Passing on the controls to our first speaker. Thank you.
Welcome all once again. Today we are here with another live webinar on CSIR NET question selection training. Thank you, Shekhar sir, for that informative introduction. and this opportunity. I am really glad that I will be able to interact with you today, this time to train you how to select the questions. Let me begin with telling one story. One man had a car whose engine was not starting. He took that car to a mechanic, telling the problem that it was not starting. Mechanic opened a bonnet, took one hammer and given a slight hit somewhere in the engine, after which engine started running. Upon asking the amount of bill, mechanic said 1000 rupees. Then the car owner asked, "You have given only one hit, why 1000 rupees?" Then mechanic replied, 1 rupee for the one stroke of the hammer, whereas 999 rupee for where to hit and how hard to hit. Then, now I want all the CSIR aspirant to be that mechanic who is very much skilled and has experience in solving the problems related to cars. But you should be able to do the same. You should know the master stroke, where to hit and with how much amount of force during the CSIR examination. To perform that, the perfectness, one must know the structure of the exam. The way mechanic knew the mechanism of the engine, you must know the structure of the exam. Let us see the structure of CSIR Chemical Sciences examination. So this examination follows 1, 2, 3 rule, as I have shown here. This 1, 2, 3 formula almost repeats every time in having 3 different sections: section A, section B and section C. So section A is 1, section B is 2, section C is 3. As you may be aware that section A contains general knowledge questions and aptitude questions. Section B and C contains the subject specific questions. So there are total 20 questions in part A, 40 questions in part B and 60 questions in part C. If you take the ratios of this, 20 is to 40 is to 60 is nothing but 1 is to 2 is to 3. And as I told earlier, each section has 2 marks weightage for each question. For example, part A and part B has 2 marks weightage, whereas part C has, each question carries the 4 marks. And one can score maximum of 30 marks in section A, 70 marks in section B and 100 marks in section C. So that in order to score 200 marks, the full 200 marks, one must solve minimum 15 questions in section A, 35 questions in section B and 25 questions in section C. Then, to get a perfect score of 200, that is a magical score, one must solve total 75 questions. If you solve 75 questions, you will get 200 marks, provided all of them are 100% correct. Suppose you are CSIR aspirant who has been preparing for past 6 months, and you know each in and out of the chemical sciences syllabus, and you know how to solve the questions, how to decide which question to solve, which not to touch, then this scorecard or this score will be printed on your scorecard. On the other hand, if you have studied well but you did not plan how to solve the questions during the 3-hour session, same score will appear not on your scorecard but on the BP monitoring machine, because you will be spending a lot of time in solving some unnecessary questions which will increase your BP by losing the time, and you will not be able to finish the question paper. So decision making while solving the questions in CSIR exam is very much important. So we have been taking several decisions in day-to-day life. For example, suppose if you want to go from Bangalore to Delhi, you will plan at least 1 month before or 15 days before that when to go by bus or train or by flight, how much time it takes, all the strategies you will make. If you have decided you want to go by train, you will book in advance using IRCTC website, etc. The same way follows to this exam also. So decision making is most critical step in writing any exam, not only CSIR exam, any exam. So importance of decision making I am going to discuss here. First decision, to write net or not. Net or not. You are going to write CSIR net or not. If you have decided, yes, I am going to write net, then am I going to do self-study or it is a guided study? If you are making a decision of self-study and putting lot of effort, and it is a directionless effort, it won't be fruitful. Therefore, we suggest to go for a guided study and get the maximum output in minimum time. I hope all of you, those who are attending this webinar, have taken these 2 wise decisions by now. Therefore, you are here attending the webinar. Then, if you have decided for guided study, which institute to select, and if you are writing a chemical sciences examination, then what are the subject areas you can go ahead with? If you are an organic chemistry interested candidate, you can select the organic chemistry as a preferred subject, and one of the physical chemistry or inorganic chemistry as a subsidiary subject. That decision also very much important. Then, having said that, if your organic chemistry is the core area, you have to study all 13 units. There is no go, you can't skip anything. But there are certain important topics as well. Similarly, if you are taking an inorganic chemistry as a subsidiary subject, organic is your main subject and inorganic is the supporting subject, then you don't have to study entire inorganic chemistry, but you can select most important topics from the inorganic syllabus. So this is where the decision making is very much important. Finally, whether this selected subject areas I can finish within the 6 months period, that is just before the exam. The time management, how to decide whether you are going for only studies or you are going for smartphones and TV, how you are going to manage your time, all those decisions are very much important. These are long-term decisions, but having done everything correct, and if you don't know how to decide while writing the CSIR exam to choose questions, then all the efforts will go in vain. So question selection in examination is the most critical step in qualifying the CSIR net examination. Who will take all these decisions? Not me, not your teachers, nobody else. It's you who are going to take the decisions. Having said this, let us know the different types of questions which are set for the CSIR examinations. There are mainly two types: knowledge assessing type questions and the ability testing type questions. So knowledge assessing type questions will be set accordingly: easy, moderate, and difficult. There will be maximum portion covered by easy questions and considerable amount by the moderate questions and few difficult questions. You can say that as much as 50% of the questions are easy type. They will be very easy to solve. As I have mentioned earlier, that the other type of questions are the ability assessing questions. That are also three types. One, no-brainer questions. You don't have to apply brain at all. If you have studied that concept once, you can answer that. Second, tempting type questions. And the third one is a trap questions. So these are very important points one should know before writing CSIR exam. For example, the first type, the no-brainer or the easy question. The no-brainer questions are as straight as the road you are looking here. These are very easy to read, understand, and answer in fraction of time. These are mostly one-liner questions, mostly of direct type, and it doesn't have any twist involved in this. Therefore, it takes very less time to attempt. Maximum 1 minute to 2 minutes, and you can solve some questions within 10 seconds as well. Because there is no twist, there is no risk involved, and this is a time saver type questions which can help you build your score, and you can go very fast in solving the no-brainer questions. The other type is the tempting questions. These are also mostly one-liner questions, but there will be certain amount of surprise element hidden in that. So it looks very easy, but it has a different answer than you think. Therefore, be cautious. It is like a silent killer, like thallium poisoning. You will not come to know that you have already answered a tempting question and you have selected wrong answer, but you think that you have correctly solved it, but it will remain unnoticed the mistakes you have made. Therefore, it is a silent killer type questions. Please be cautious. One more interesting fact is the CSIR exam is the fight between the candidates and the exam setter. No exam setter wants his questions to be answered by everybody. He will try to give some surprises in the question so that you will make mistakes, and at the latter moment, if you commit mistake, he will be happy to laugh on you. So be cautious while reading such type of questions and while attempting. Thus, if you make mistake, the negative marking system will come into action here, which will slowly break your base of the pyramid you have grown in a score builder no-brainer section. So while attempting these questions, be careful. If you are not 100% sure, there should be a loss of 125%. I hope you understood this. Let me explain you. Suppose you are in a section B and the question looks very easy. Section B contains 2 marks. Therefore, if you score it, 2 marks, 100% you get it. If you make it wrong, 2 marks will go and 25% of the 2 marks which you have already earned in the previous section or the previous no-brainer section, 0.5 marks also will be reduced. Therefore, if you are not 100% sure, you are going to make 125% loss. And the third type of questions are the trap questions. These questions are designed in such a way that they are made to test your decision-making ability. These are not one-liner questions. The question may run half of the page. You can call it as an essay rather than a question. And therefore, it takes a lot of time to read the questions. And there is no direct data given in the question. One has to read across the length of the question to extract the data. There will be multiple concepts in the question, and therefore extracting a data from such question will be a time-taking process. So this type of questions are called as time killer questions. So how to avoid to enter into this trap and kill your time? There are few ways. First, if you find a multiple concept in a long question, there is a high chance that you are going to miss some information because it is a high tension time where only 180 minutes are there and you have to solve as many as possible. So missing out a piece of information is most probable. That is the first step. When you miss one concept, the wrong answer you are going to get. So that is the first wrong turn you are going to get by missing the information. So when you look at the long question which contains multiple concepts, be careful. Be wise to invest time when you have a lot of time. Then once you taken a wrong turn, you have already entered a trap. You will keep on solving the problem and finally come up with the answer which is not there in the options. Then you will feel confused and frustrated. Then you will start thinking, this was my strong area. I have spent a lot of time studying this. Still, I am not able to do. Then you will start doubting your preparation strategy and your confidence will be hampered at this moment. And you will think of, oh, I lost so much of time and effort while solving this and I am not with the answer. Then you will feel disappointed and feel anxious because time has lost and you don't have time to read further. The simple questions also you are likely to give up. And finally, frustration builds up and you become anxious, give up the exam and leave the examination. All the 6 months effort went into one trap question. Thus, don't get trapped in the trap questions. There is a time when you have to come back and try to attempt the trap questions. But I suggest do not attempt trap questions. So, what should be your plan of action? It is not necessary unless you want to become CSIR first ranker, you have to go for all the questions. Out of 120 questions, only 75 are required to answer to become a topper, to score 120 marks, 200 marks. But if you look at the old questions and the scorecards, you will observe that minimum 120 marks are required for qualifying as a LS candidate and greater than 140 marks for the JRF candidate. So scoring 120 is very easy if you follow the right approach. Therefore, I suggest you first go for the no-brainer questions. You have to start from question number 1 to question number 120 to find out no-brainer questions. Scan the question paper for easy ones, and because those are easy ones, you can solve it at the moment as you go forward. And if at all, if you think it is easy but you have 1% doubt, leave it. Be brave to leave that. Don't touch it. It is not a prestige issue. If you don't know certain things, that's all right. You have other questions where you can score more. Don't waste time and don't take risk in round 1. Secondly, don't attempt attempting questions at this stage, even if it looks easy, but it may consume time. So these are all the tempting questions which requires extra care, extra the focus while reading, etc. Don't attempt in round 1. So my suggestion is to go from scanning question number 1 to question number 120. Finally, focus mainly on section B and C because that is your strong subject area. For example, in chemical sciences, you will be handling chemistry questions in section B and section C. So let me put one table here to convince you how easy it is to get 120 marks, if you have provided you have studied your strong areas. For example, I have put one table here. The 3 different sections, section A, section B, section C, have different weightage. For example, as I told, 2 marks, 2 marks and 4 marks questions. Thus, let us think that the 2 marks questions takes on average 1.5 minutes. As I told, few questions will take 15 seconds, whereas some questions will take 3 minutes to solve. And on average, the 2 marks questions, let us take 1.5 minutes for one question. Having said that, to score 200 marks, let us say you have to solve 15 questions in section A, 35 questions in section B, and 25 questions in section C. Then you will be able to solve all the 75 questions and score 200 out of 200. Thus, if 1.5 minutes each question in section A and B, then accordingly 22.5 minutes for 15 questions to solve and 52.5 minutes for 35 questions in section B to solve. Similarly, if you take 4 minutes per question in section C on an average, let us say it is somewhere between 3 minutes to 6 minutes and you take average 4 minutes, and since there are 25 questions you need to solve to get 200 marks, total 100 minutes are needed to obtain 100 marks. Now if you take a ratio of marks obtained to the time spent, then in section A and B you are scoring 1.33 marks for each minute spent, whereas in section C you are scoring 1 mark for each minute spent. This is the analysis for getting 200 marks when you solve 75 questions and total time required was 175 minutes. and 5 minutes left for the revision. Whatever you have done, you can check it. Now, if you want to score only the minimum qualifying marks, that is 120 marks, I may suggest you to go for only 5 questions in section A, 25 questions in section B, and 15 questions in section C. Because section A is general knowledge and aptitude type, all the questions you will not be able to do in a shorter period of time. Therefore, only 5 questions which are relatively easy. Then you are spending 7.5 minutes for that. And section B is because it is a chemistry related, you will be able to do it better. And as I told, around 50 to 60% of the questions are easy ones. Then you can go for 25 questions that may consume 37.5 minutes. If you add these two, in 45 minutes, you are solving 30 questions and scoring how many? 25 into 2, 50 plus 10, 60. In section A and B, you are scoring 60 marks. And if you go for remaining 60 marks, you can easily score out by solving 15 questions out of total 60 questions. How? It's very easy, because you have to solve only 15 questions to get the minimum 60 marks, and you are left with more than 135 minutes once you finished section A and section B easy questions. On an average, you will get 9 minutes per question if you approach this strategy, if you follow this strategy in section C. What we have allotted was 4 minutes per question, but now you are getting 9 minutes per question. So in that time, you can go for tempting questions as well as some trap questions. But don't get carried away. Until you finish tempting questions, don't go for the trap questions. Next, having said this, we can, if you got the qualifying marks, now if you ascertain, yeah, you got 120 marks, you are sure, and now it is the time, you have so much of time left, and you can go ahead with the maximizing the score. By gaining extra marks, you can push your LS to JRF, or if you are JRF, you can go to the higher rank. So to maximize the score, first you have to identify the scoring ground. As I have shown in the previous slide, maximum of 100 marks are allotted for section C. So section C is your scoring ground. Thus, if you have a lot of time, on average 9 minutes per question, you can go peacefully with calm mind to solve the questions. But as I mentioned earlier, ascertain that you are beyond or closer to the qualifying marks. Then at this situation, if you feel that some risks should be taken, and this is the time you can go ahead with the taking risk. But make sure that by making mistake, you will not fall behind the crossing line. You should be well beyond the qualifying marks, then you can take risk. So holding nerves is the key here. Holding nerves in the sense, you should not feed your greed for extra marks unless you are 100% sure. And at this moment, you will be having more time and you will be able to handle tempting questions and numerical problems which will take more attention and more time. And finally, if you have done with the tempting questions, if you are facing some trap questions, please let them go. If the trap questions are taking your time, don't waste your time, go for the other C section questions. Now let me give one example. This is a maze, a puzzle. Always you will find here and there in newspapers, or if you go to restaurants, it will be kept there. And pen will be provided. It is not necessary, because it is provided, you have to go through the puzzle and find the way. So trap questions are like this. Why should I go that way when I know the answer is here? I can go from outside. Why should I go into trap? Or else I'll avoid this trap itself and I go for the easy ones. I should be smart at this moment. You should be smart not to enter the trap. One wrong turn may lead many different reactions and the loss will be yours. So please let go trap questions. So I'm showing some of the no-brainer questions, tempting questions, and the trap questions in organic chemistry portion of the CSIR exams, which were conducted in December 2015-2016. If I take all the question papers from 2015 onwards to 2019, it will be evening. I will not be able to finish the job. So I have selected only 2 question papers, and you will be surprised to know that there are many easy questions hidden in the question paper. For example, in December 2015, section B, question number 18. The number of chemical shift non-equivalent proton expected in H1 NMR spectrum of alpha pinene is. Now, please notice that it looks very simple. Yes, it is simple. If you have studied NMR, how to find out non-equivalent sets of protons, you will be able to do it properly. Now, please note that the stereochemistry is mentioned here. This single bond and the methyl substitutions are above the plane. So what does it mean? The CH2 group, which are next to the substitutions, will behave differently in NMR. The one which is above the plane will give different signal than the one which is below the plane. So accordingly, if I number A, B proton, C, this will be D, this will be E, here there is no proton, F, this will be G, H, I, and J. J is the 10th letter of the alphabet, therefore number of peaks. I hope it is clear. So there are total 10 sets of non-equivalent protons. So answer is 4. Now the answer 8 is given here. If you make a mistake that counting these CH2s as one set, you will make a mistake. For example, the protons which are above the plane facing towards the methyl substitution will behave differently than one which are below the plane. So those two becomes chemically non-equivalent. So similar is the case with D and E protons as well. So as a result, we have 10 different sets of chemically non-equivalent protons. In the same section, December 2015, there is one more no-brainer question as shown here. Question number 70. The correct match for compounds in column A with the description in column B is shown here. There are 3 different compounds shown, structures of the 3 different compounds, and we have to match the structure with their names. As we know that aspirin is common medicine, you might have come across the structure of it if you are studying organic chemistry. So aspirin is nothing but the acetate derivative of salicylic acid. So structure of salicylic acid is orthohydroxy carboxylic acid. If you make a ester of the carboxylic acid with acetic acid, that is the structure of your aspirin. On the other hand, the oil of wintergreen, which is present in the iodex, the balm which is available in the market, for its pleasant smell, it contains methyl salicylate. So if you know these two things, then just match it, Q with X and R with Y. Do you see some options like this? R with Y, Q with X. Yeah, R with Y and Q with X. Then definitely, even if you don't know the structure of ibuprofen, you can say P is Z. So option is 2. So this is the way one has to solve the question by minimum information and minimum time. Next, there are some more no-brainer questions. If you look at this question, you will understand that this type of reactions where a photochemical rearrangement reactions involving diazo compounds are known as Wolff rearrangement reaction. When we know this, if we studied well, Wolff rearrangement, you have seen this example, then we know the carbon is the intermediate. Do you see anywhere the carbon is the intermediate written? And as a result, you will find that carbon is the intermediate in option 1. Nitrine is the intermediate in option 2. So this cannot be option 2. And if you have studied Norwich 1 and Norwich type 2, definitely those product cannot be formed from this. So in the first step, the formation of ketene from this carbon will be observed, and this ketene will undergo reaction with methanol to give a compound like this. Therefore, option is A. And if you have studied the spectroscopy, you will find that the IR spectroscopy is the concept here. You will observe that the carbonyl stretching frequencies are given here for 5-membered cyclic systems. As we know that the carbonyl stretching frequencies will increase with inductive effect and decrease with resonance. So one which has resonance with double bond will have less stretching frequency. So 1750 is the one having less stretching frequency. So this double bond which is in conjugation with C double bond O will bring about the single bond character, and the stretching frequency will be less. Now there are two more compounds which have higher stretching frequencies than this because of the inductive effect of oxygen. In both the cases, two oxygens are there, but which will be having higher stretching frequency. Now see the position of the double bond. Previously, in this case, it was in conjugation with C double bond O, but now it is in conjugation with lone pair on the oxygen. Because of this, the electron density on the oxygen will be taken away by this double bond, and therefore it will become electron deficient. Once it becomes electron deficient, it will exert more minus I effect, and this C double bond O will become shorter, and it will have higher stretching frequency compared to the normal one. Therefore, you have to find out the option where R is associated with X and Q is associated with Z. R is associated with X, there are two options, and Q is associated with Z. So option 1 is the correct answer. Wasn't it easy? Yes, if you study, then it is easy. So having said this, let us go and see some tempting questions. For example, the upcoming slide. In this case, the major product formed in the photochemical reaction of 2E4Z6E decatriene is. Now, stereochemistry is involved. First, you should know the structure of this. If you know the structure of that, let us say this is the structure of this. You should know the molecular orbital theory. So, FMO approach. How many different frontier molecular orbitals are there? As we know, because I know 6. Then, whether these 6 carbon atoms contains 6 pi electrons will occupy the HOMO levels. This is in ground state. If it is a thermal condition, the reaction will take place in Psi3. If it is a photochemical reaction, the electrocyclization of this compound will take place in excited state. Therefore, accordingly, you should select Psi4 as your molecular orbital that will undergo rotation. As we know that according to molecular orbital theory, Psi1, Psi2, Psi3, Psi5, which has odd number, will have lobes on the same side, positive lobes on the same side of the plane. Therefore, one has to undergo con rotation, one has to undergo clockwise rotation, other one has to undergo anti-clockwise rotation. So such type of rotations are known as disrotations. And if it is a even number, for example, if it is a photochemical reaction, Psi4 will be your basis orbital, which has to undergo the rotation. Both has to turn towards clockwise side. Therefore, the bonding is possible. As a result, this should go up and this should come down. So there is an option that these are trans to each other here. This is up, this is down. Either way, either if it is going down, it should go up. So if you make a small mistake by not reading photochemical reaction, and if you bring about the ground state, you will have a different answer. Therefore, these are the tempting questions which needs more care, that should not be attempted in the first round. Having said this, tempting questions should be attempted once you finish the no-brainer questions. Now, section B, trap questions. Now you see the length of the question is half page, and there are 2 chemical reactions given, similar structure, only the position of this group is either above the plane or below the plane, and cleverly they have given the different temperatures. I don't want to get into trap, I want to go for the other questions. Then I went for the question number 42. Even though it is 2-mark question, it is a trap question. Question number 43 I went, and again I had to read lot of data. I had to look into the different positions of the OH groups, etc., whether CH2 is this side or that side. I am not going to do it at this moment. I will come back later and do it. So this is how we can avoid the trap questions to save time. Okay. So let us go and spend some time on December 2016 question paper. Even before that, we can go for the easy brainer question. There are no-brainer questions in section C. In December 2015, what we see, one question which is easy, but you should apply a brain. It is not a no-brainer question. You must spend some time to get the answer. For example, question number 98. The major product formed in the following reaction sequences. There are 3 different reaction conditions given. So it is a multi-step reaction. So 4-mark question, 4 marks are not easy to obtain. So different concept you should know. First, MCPBA. MCPBA is known for bringing about the epoxidation of olefins. If the epoxidation is done, the oxygen delivered will be from the less sterically hindered side. So if these are on the opposite side, on the below plane, the oxygen will go from the front face. But if there is a chelating group like OH, the epoxidation will occur from the same side of the other 2 groups, or the OH group. Then in the next step, there is the attack of azide ion. Since the alpha plane, that is below the plane, is already occupied by epoxide, the azide will come from the top, and in the next step, the loss of OH group. after epoxide ring opening is occurring, and that is done by the displacement by the azide group to form a 3-membered azidine ring, that is from the opposite sides of OH and the isopropyl substituent. So this took time 2 minutes to understand the correct answer. So these are easy, but you should be ready for answering this type of question. So again, one easy questions in section B, but in December 2016. Question number 38, it asks about the acidity of the compound. More the strain, more will be the acidity. As we know that the open chain compounds are less strained, the active methylene groups will be less acidic compared to the cyclic system. Now, as the ring size decreases, the acidity increases. Therefore, B should be highly acidic, then A, then C. Do you see some option like this? B, A, C. The option third is your right answer. So these are all basic concepts. If you know, you can do it within fraction of time. That is, hardly I have spent 30 seconds on this. Similarly, among the structures given below, the most stable conformation for the following compound is. Now, this is the conformational analysis of cyclohexane, substituted cyclohexane. In this figure, it showed that all 3 methyl substitutions are above the plane. So, look for the options where there are only above the plane methyl groups. Here, above the plane, below the plane, below the plane, gone. Here below the plane, above the plane. One below the plane is there. This is also not possible. Now there are 2 options where are all the 3 groups are above the plane. Now you notice that if there are axial groups in this cyclohexane system, it will be least stable. So here 2 axial methyl groups, 1 equatorial methyl group, here 1 axial methyl group and 2 equatorial methyl groups, and therefore one with maximum number of equatorial methyl group will be more stable. So the answer is 3. These 2 methyl groups which are above the plane are axial, they will suffer 1,3 diaxial interactions that will bring about the destability. Therefore, most stable structure is 3. So these are very basic concepts that you can do it. You can recall at any time if you have studied well. Similarly, some questions like NMR spectroscopy. The H1 NMR spectrum of mixture of benzene and acetonitrile shows 2 singlets of equal integration. What it is saying? The benzene C6H6 and acetonitrile CH3CN. So it shows same integration. It means that the signals due to CH3CN and C6H6 have same height. It indicates both the signals are contributed by same number of hydrogens. So they are asking the molar ratio of benzene to acetonitrile. To match the 6 number of hydrogens, we should have twice the amount of acetonitrile. Therefore, when there is one benzene ring, there should be 2 acetonitrile to match 6 hydrogens. Therefore, the option where ratio is 1:2 is 3. So these are very easy questions one can do. Similarly, one more question I have included, the IR spectroscopy related, where the compound which shows the IR frequencies at, give me a second please, let me clarify this. Yeah, the compound which shows IR frequencies at 3314 and 2126. So 2126 is the triple bond region. So either of this or this or this should be the answer. And 3314 is due to the highly acidic proton. So which one has a highly acidic proton? The acetylene proton is the highly acidic. Therefore, answer number 3 is the correct option. These were very easy questions, one can do it. So I have spent enough time on going on the easy questions. Let us continue with few more questions and close the today's talk. Now, tempting questions for like this. As we know that the correct order of bond dissociation energies of indicated CH bond in following compounds. We know that acetylene CH is highly acidic, so its bond dissociation energy should be less, but in reality answer is not that. The answer is something else. So do not go for such tempting questions unless you know the details of this. And similarly, this is also tempting. The zinc copper couple in presence of iodomethane giving some compound. Now there are two double bonds, one here and one here, and since it is a carbon intermediate, it generates carbon intermediate, it should undergo addition reaction. In first three options, 1, 2 and 3, this double bond is almost untouched. So the tendency will be for us, we'll think that the more if it is repeating, the one of this should be the answer, but in reality the answer is 4, and this carbon CH dihydrocarbon will attack regioselectively the exocyclic double bond which is electron rich. Compared to this double bond is electron rich because the electron density from this double bond is carried away by the ester function. Therefore the electron deficient carbon will preferentially react with the electron rich double bond. So the answer is 4. Don't get carried away, it is tempting, you should have cool mind. Then again the tempting questions, some of them are here. I don't want to touch at this moment, I will come back later to find out the answers, or I can be brave enough to leave this question as well. And this question number 99 has 4 options which are similar to the result of benzene condensation. Unless you know that there is a concept of polarity reversal, you should not touch this question. This is tempting. The answer is 1, where these benzaldehyde act as a nucleophile after the polarity reversal at carbonyl carbon, whereas this function will act as an electrophile. Then the trap question, as you can see, as the letter size becomes smaller, the length of the question becomes harder and you are going to kill your time. Please avoid this type of questions. If at all you want to come back, finish everything and come back and do it. And as I mentioned again and again, the SMART sequence, round 1, when the signal is green, go for the easy questions, no-brainer questions at a higher speed, full speed, question 1 to question 120, come back again to question 1, be watchful to attempt tempting questions, answer only when you are 100% sure. And in the round number 3, final round, by this time you have already done question number 1 to question number 70 in 2 rounds. Now in this section you will be mainly focusing on section C and few easy questions. If at all you were not able to read in the hurry, and tempting questions which you knew the answers but it may take time, and finally the trap questions, if you are smart enough you will trap it and find out why all other 3 options are not the correct answers. Ascertain that the one you have selected is correct and all other 3 are wrong, and please mark the answers. So I believe you got some information about how to go about the examination in CSIR chemical sciences. So having said this, I'm going to stop this session here, and I wish you all the best for upcoming CSIR examination that is going to be held between November 19 to November 26. All the best once again. Over to Bangalore headquarters.
Good evening, all of you. Thank you, Shekhar sir, for giving me an opportunity to address such energetic audiences. And I would also like to thank you for conducting such a powerful webinar, which is definitely going to play a very important role in shaping the career of the budding talents in the field of chemical science. Thank you, Dr. Nitin. Can you all please confirm in chat box if I am audible to all of you? Please write a yes in chat box if I am audible to all of you and if my slide is visible, the clarity is good. Okay. Thank you. So what is today's webinar all about? It is all about decision making. Decision making in CSIR NET Chemical Science examination. Now, we all take decisions at various points in our lives. Some are our right decisions and some are our wrong decisions. A right decision will lead to success and a wrong decision means failure. What do you mean by success in chemical science CSIR NET examination? Success definitely means getting a rank in JRF or LS, that is clearing the cutoff. So what do you need to be successful? Just choose the right questions and answer them correctly. I repeat, choose the right questions. What is important here is to choose the correct questions and omit the wrong ones. So what are our right questions and what are our wrong questions? I'm going to talk about it here, highlighting the important questions of inorganic and physical chemistry. Now, decision making is a very important part in CSIR NET examination. Now, everybody comes and tells us what to do during those 6 months of preparation, like the important strategies, the tips and tricks to clear the cutoff, the important books, the syllabus, the important topics, the subtopics, and everything, the reference books one might follow in order to learn the important topics and so on. But nobody tells us what to do during those 3 hours of the exam. CSIR NET is a rejection game. Majority of the candidates will get rejected in CSIR NET. And who will get selected? Those who will take the right decision. Anyone who takes the right decision during the exam definitely gets selected. So, if you want to get selected, choose the questions wisely. Decide on the questions wisely if you want to get selected. Now, who is going to write the exam? Your friends? No. Your relatives? No. Your teachers? No. It is you who is going to write the exam. You are the decision maker. You will have to decide what to do and what not to do during those 3 hours of exam. So, it is you who is going to write the exam. So, what actually matters is those 3 hours of the examination. CSIR NET clearing this exam is a recognition. Getting a rank in JRF is definitely a recognition. So, a wrong decision is going to cost your qualification. A wrong decision will definitely cost your qualification. So, it is all about your planning, the risks and the strategies. So, what are the strategies to obtain the cutoff marks? Smart work. Yes, we all have to work hard, but what is equally important is being smart. Smart work. Proper question selection and time management. Now, why is proper question selection important? Here I have categorized the questions into 3 parts. One is the yes, whose answer you are absolutely sure of. Like you read the question and you see that this is from the unit you have studied, you are 100% sure about the answer, you just go for it. The next category is the no. The questions I don't know, I surely don't know, so don't go for these types of questions. Then the third category is the most danger zone category. That is maybe. Maybe I know the answer, maybe I don't know the answer. That is, you are not sure whether you know or you don't know the answer. So is the risk really worth taking? Let's see. Now, it is those 3 hours of the exam which is going to decide your future. So, control your greed. Don't fall into the trap of your greed. Control your greed during your examination. If you are sure of 15 questions of part C, attempt only those 15 questions. If you attempt 50 questions of part C, you are going to get a 60 marks. But if you fall into the trap of being greedy and attempt additional 5 questions you are not sure of, suppose you get all those 5 questions wrong, what happens? You get negative marks for those 5 questions and the marks automatically reduces to 55. Even if you have done all those 15 questions correctly. So be very careful, control your greed. Take risks only when you are desperately in need, like you are just a few marks away from clearing your cutoff. Then only you can take risks. Move on if you are stuck at any particular part. In any question, if you are stuck, just move on. This is not a prestige issue. Nobody is going to give you an extra marks for attempting any hard question. NTA will not reward you with any additional marks or any prizes for attempting any difficult questions. So just move on if you are stuck. Do not waste your time. Do not attempt every question from the unit studied. Suppose you are just studying 8 to 9 units and you find that you have got one question from the unit you have studied but you are not able to answer that question. No, don't waste time there. Do not attempt the questions. Do not attempt all the questions from the unit you have studied. Because it might happen that you don't know the answer, and if you just fall a prey of your greed, what happens is that the consequence will be a negative mark. That is, it will definitely decrease your performance. Now, there are 3 types of questions, as Nitin sir has already said. One is the easy question, that is the no twist questions, where we have clear interpretation and we have the maximum chances to get it correct if you have a good preparation. Then comes the tempting questions. There is a chance of making a mistake here. Hence, these questions can be ignored. Options might appear somewhat easy, but you might be able to cancel out or omit out 2 options, but you will always have a greed of attempting these questions. But you may have to guess 1 or 2 options. Then comes the most dangerous part, the trap questions. These are the tricky questions which looks easy and may seem to have an obvious answer, but definitely there is a catch here. So there is a maximum chance of getting it wrong. So what I would suggest to all that do not go for these types of trap questions. Now let's see a few examples of easy question. This question was asked in CSIR NET 2018 December paper about the Allred-Rochow electronegativity of an element. See, this is a very easy question. If you know about Allred-Rochow electronegativity, if you have studied this unit, you will be definitely able to answer this question. It is directly proportional to the effective nuclear charge and it is inversely proportional to the square of the covalent radii. So the correct option will be A and C. So it's option number D. The next example is a polymer has the following molar mass distribution. The data of number of molecules and molar mass in gram per mole is provided, and what you have to do is to just calculate the number average molar mass. Just fit into the formula and you get the answer. This is also a very easy question. you can go for these types of questions. Then comes questions on Bend's rule. Yet a very important topic. The correct combination of geometry around the central atom and the position of more electronegative substituent. If you have studied this unit, this is a very easy topic. You will be definitely able to answer this question. Next, the plot of rate constant versus ionic strength for this particular reaction. Yet another very easy question, straightforward question. If you have studied this unit, you will be able to answer this question. So just go for these types of questions. These are very scoring parts. Then the specific conductance of an electrolyte solution. The value is provided and the value of cell constant is also provided. What has asked here is the conductance of the solution. Just straightforward, put into the formula and you will get the answer. Then Wade's rule, B12H12 2 minus. Yet another very easy question. Then comes a question from inorganic chemistry, bioinorganic chemistry, about the biological functions of carbonic anhydrase and carboxypeptidase A. Correct answer, interconversion of CO2 and carbonates and hydrolysis of peptide bonds. See, these are very easy questions. No tricks, no trap, nothing. Definitely, you all can go for these types of questions. Then comes the tempting questions. See, this question was asked for 2 marks. The concentration of a MgSO4 solution having the same ionic strength as that of 0.1 molar Na2SO4 solution. 4 options have been provided. This is a tempting question. Like whenever you see a question of this type, you go to attempt. Like you know the concept of ionic strength and you know how to calculate ionic strength, but there is sometimes a chances of making mistake, because this is not a direct question where you are only asked to calculate the ionic strength, but it is asked that the concentration of the MgSO4 solution which has the same ionic strength as that of 0.1 molar Na2SO4 solution is. The concentration is asked, but not the ionic strength value. Then the temperature dependence of a reaction, the expression is provided and the activation energy is asked. Yet another very tempting question, but there is always a chance of making a mistake here. So I would advise you all that you avoid these types of tempting questions. Then the binding modes of NO in 18 electron compounds. 2 18 electron compounds have been provided and you are asked to write the binding modes of the nitrosyl ligand. So 2 options can easily be omitted, but there is always a confusion between the rest 2 options. If you are 100% sure about the answer, then only go for it. Otherwise, for the time being, if you see that you have cleared the cutoff, so don't go for these types of questions. Then comes the another example of a tempting question, which is about N2 and N2 plus bond order and bond length, and also about the dissociation energy. This is a very easy question actually, but there is sometimes a chance of making mistake here, because see, all the 4 options, they are somewhat same. They will look the same. So if you are very much sure of the answer, then only I would advise you all to go for these types of questions. Otherwise, this topic is very easy. This is from the molecular orbital theory, as you all are aware about. So if you feel that you are just a few marks away from the cutoff marks, so you can go for these types of questions. Otherwise, I would advise you all that if you are only 100% sure about this answer, then only go for it. Then comes the trap questions. Do not fall a prey into these trap questions. Here are 2 examples of 2 trap questions. One is on the absorption spectrum of CrF6-3-, where the del 0 value and the corresponding transition has been asked to calculate. See, this is a very tricky question. So I would advise you all, don't fall a trap into these questions, because there is a majority of people will solve it wrong. Then the correct statement about the substitution reaction of COCN5Cl3- with OH- ion to give COCN5OH3-. These types of questions are also sometimes tricky questions and people do mistakes here. Another question which was asked for 4 marks about the Fisher and Schrock carbines. You can go for these types of questions. I would always suggest you all to go for these types of questions because see, in 3 options, in option number A, option number B and in option number D, you have A as one of the options. And if you are very much sure about the concept of Fisher and Schrock carbine, you must be aware of the fact that the oxidation state of metal is low in Fisher carbine and high in Schrock carbine. So easily option number D can be omitted. And then from the rest 3 options A, B and D, if you have the concept of Fisher and Schrock carbine, you will be able to answer these types of questions. So you can go for these types of questions. Then match the following types of questions. Match the following types of questions are really very scoring. This is a question which was asked. This is a combination type of question also where there is one example of an iron 2 protoporphyrin 9 and there are 2 coordination complexes. You can go for these types of questions because these types of questions are really very scoring. The match the following type of question. Here is another example of a match the following type of question where 6 matches have been given in column B for 4 options in column A. You can definitely go for these types of questions. This is a question which was asked for 4 marks. See, part C question means always tough. This is not the thing. Part C questions may be easy also. So these types of questions in part C which are asked are sometimes easy. So go for these match the following type of questions. Then this is a graph based question which was asked in 2015 for 4 marks. The order of these 2 reactions 1 and 2 respectively are. If you have studied chemical kinetics portion, you will be able to answer these questions. So go for these types of graph based questions. Now next, coming to time management. Yet a very important part during the exam is time management. How to manage your time. Those 3 hours, the most important decisive moments of your life, those 3 hours which will decide where you lie in your future, which will decide whether you get a rank in CSIR net or not. Time management is most important for that. Now, here are a few efficient time management tips. First is, try to avoid people who will panic around you. Whenever you go to the examination hall, you will see that your friends coming and asking which units you have prepared, how is your preparation. You will see that they will panic around you. Just avoid these kinds of people. They are not helping you. Just avoid. Keep your ears closed and just concentrate on whatever you have studied. Now start with scanning a particular question and quickly plan whether you are going to opt for it or not. You see a question in your screen, just start scanning that particular question and quickly plan within few seconds whether you will attempt it or not. Start slowly and then speed up gradually. Gradually increase your speed. Now, you have 3 sections in your examination. Set a deadline for each section. You will have a timer displayed in front of you. In your screen, just set a deadline for each section by using your watch. Now, set your time frames such that you have at least 10 minutes left to go through the entire paper, whatever you have done. Last 10 minutes should always be kept for revision. Now, do not invest your time and energy on a particular section so that at the last you will have to just hurry. So, if you are not able to answer a particular question, for that time being, just skip that question and move on to the next question. In case you see that you go blank and your brain freezes, simply begin writing anything and you will soon start remembering more details about it. Sometimes it might happen that you just become blank during your exam and you are not able to recall your portions you have studied. In such cases, simply write anything you have studied from that part and you will see that you will soon begin to remember things. Pay attention to the key terms and informations which are provided in the question. Try to utilize every minute of that exam. Each and every minute out of those 180 minutes is important and is very vital, which will decide your future. If you have some time left, start back at the beginning and review each answer thoroughly. Stay calm and just keep solving. Keep your mind calm. Now, what to do with the question paper? Now we have online based paper, CBT mode. So whenever a particular question comes in front of your screen, what to do with that particular question? While answering a particular question, read that question. Then reread that question. Link options to the question as well as to whatever knowledge you have had about it. Frame a mental picture about that particular topic, or you can even draw it on a paper. Identify the keywords in a particular question you have been provided. Now if you see that you are able to solve it correctly, mark the option and then quickly move on to the next question. If you find that you are taking more time than the time you have allotted to that question, just skip the question for that particular time. Just move on to the next question. Now here are some more useful tips, like do not spend more time in a question. If you are not able to solve it within 5 minutes, suppose you have allotted for a particular question of part C 5 minutes and for part B maximum of 3 minutes. If you feel that you are not able to solve a particular question within the allotted time span, for the time being, just skip that question. Target the qualifying marks and accordingly skip unsure question to avoid negative marking. One of the most danger zone in the question paper is your negative marks. One wrong question for part C, you get -1. So be very aware about that. Now the selection of question to solve is also very important. Target more match the following and graph based questions. Match the following and graph based questions. If they are from your studied units, just go for them. They are very scoring portions. Be very careful about the true or false statement combination types of questions, because sometimes there are some tricks. There will be some tricks in those true and false types of questions. Try to avoid related or combination unit questions unless and until you are 100% sure about it. So, one of the most important part is that what will be the order of answering. Students come and tell that which unit to begin with. Part C, part B, part A, or from part A then to part B then to part C. Divide the 3 hours into slots. I would always advise you all to begin with part C first, as these questions are maximum scoring. You get awarded with +4 for each correct answer. And 90 to 100 minutes can be dedicated for this section. Then comes to section B. Section B should be the next, as here you are asked short and straightforward questions, and a major chunk of questions can be done in the span of 45 to maximum of 50 minutes. Don't take more time than 50 minutes. Then comes section A. If you have time, then go for section A, and if you are very much sure that you can obtain the cutoff marks by doing part B and C, then just solve a few questions from section A. Section A questions are actually a bit tricky, so keep segregated slot for 30 minutes for this section. And lastly, as I've said that keep 10 minutes for revision, so that you can see that you have not missed out with any question or something like this. This is the time allotment curve. 100 minutes for section C, then comes B and then A. Now, set milestone. What do I mean by milestone? Break up the test into smaller portions and set milestones for every 30 minutes, like first 30 minutes, then the next 30 minutes up to 1 hour, then 1.5 hours and so on. Have milestones for every 30 minutes that where you are lying after each 30 minutes. the first 30-minute stage, then the 1 hour stage, then the 1.5 hour stage, and so on. Now these should be realistic milestones. At the end of 30 minutes, if you find that you are lagging behind, then this is definitely a red flag. This is an indication that you are lagging behind and you must speed up. Now this milestone will be based upon your practice. Your milestones should be formed based on your practicing more and more mock tests. Have hard deadlines. Everyone will tell you to have deadlines, but what I will suggest you that have hard deadlines. Competitive exam is all about your accuracy and your speed. From where will that accuracy come? The accuracy will come from practicing questions. Those 6 months of preparation will make you accurate. And what equally matters is your speed. With how much speed you are able to solve your questions. Accuracy implies high overall score and not only a particular question. So if a question is taking too long to answer, just skip it for them. How do you decide what is too long? Have hard deadlines per question in terms of minutes. Each question should have a deadline, hard deadlines. Taking the right decision during your exam will help you score more marks than the topper. I repeat, take the correct decision. Correct decision about what? Which questions to attempt and which questions to avoid. And also, what is equally important is how you are managing your time. Now, here are a few advantages of the NTA format. Like the question is now online, the exam is now online, conducted by NTA, National Testing Agency. One of the most important pros of the NTA format is that evaluation time and process is expected to be less. It takes lesser time than the offline mode to give you the results. You do not get overwhelmed by seeing all the questions together. Previously, a question booklet was provided and we used to scroll all the questions. Not scroll, go through all the questions and get overwhelmed by seeing all the questions at a time. So here we have the privilege of not getting overwhelmed by seeing all the questions together. Then a timer is displayed on the top of the screen, which helps us to assess how much time has passed and where we are lying at that point of time. Also, we have the advantage of changing an answer at a later point. Sometimes what happens in the OMR sheet is that by mistake we mark a wrong option. During the examination, out of panic or anything else or tension, we know the correct answer, but by mistake we mark the wrong answer. So if something like this happens in your online mode, we have the option of changing the answer at a later point. And also, it is very much easy to track the progress of the exam in the online mode. But there are also a few disadvantages. Scrolling is a big problem. You have to scroll through the question paper. Like, this is definitely a big problem. Also, there is a strain for the eyes. There may be sometimes technical issues and the unit-oriented sequence is removed. The questions are shuffled, which was not the case earlier. So, these are the cons of the NTA format. Now, knowledge is a treasure, but what equally is important is practice. Practice is the main key to it. Practice is the key to our success. So what you can do is practice previous year's question paper. Practice previous year question paper, because without practicing and without proper revision, success will not come. Solve mock tests, make notes and revise. But what is a good source for practicing question? Previous year question paper? Yes. The questions at the back of standard reference books? Yes. But what you are not getting? What you are not getting is proper evaluation. You are not able to know at what position you are lying in between the huge pool of competitors. You are not only your competitor, but you have a huge pool of competitors. So it is equally important to know where you are lying in between those competitors. What you are not getting is a detailed explanation of the questions, unit-wise questions. Suppose you have studied the unit organometallic chemistry and you need to see whether your preparation is up to the mark or not. So what you need to do now is that practice questions. But from where will you get? What is a proper source for that? The unit-wise questions and also mock tests for practice. Now, how Rasayanika helps us? Rasayanika is one of the best centers, coaching institutes for CSIR NET Chemical Science. But why join Rasayanika? It will help students to cover huge syllabus in less time. We have a study portal in Rasayanika where there are ebooks, PPTs, question papers. Rasayanika faculties will provide easy ways to remember. It provides easy to remember learning methods. It has teaching facilities with the best available IT tools. It provides 24/7 chat support and video recording of the classes and the lectures. In Rasayanika, you will get weekly and monthly tests for CSIR NET Chemical Science examination. How can Rasayanika help is that it also provides CSIR NET Chemical Science study materials and online test series. Online test series which are available at Rasayanika is the weekly tests, the monthly quest which covers portions from all the units. There are 75 questions, and we also have the AIMNET test series. For this you can contact in our email ID. So, with this I end my presentation. I would like to thank all of you for your time and for your undivided attention. Thank you all of you. All the best for your upcoming exam. It's in the month of November. Thank you. I would like to give the controls to our host Shekhar sir now. So, thank you all of you.
All right. Looks like we just finished a great session, a mind-blowing session by two of our speakers, Dr. Nitin and Mrs. Sayanti. Both of them opened our eyes on how to attempt CSIR NET exam in chemical sciences in the right fashion, the right manner. So now is the time for the feedback form. So we'll be giving you the link in the chat box. Please fill the feedback form, and after that you will be redirected to your surprise gifts. Okay. And I'll see you in our next webinar. And also we are giving away the link to our Telegram group. Please join that Telegram group. We will be sharing the PowerPoints used in this webinar tomorrow before 9 p.m. exactly in this group. Okay. So the group is t.me/Rasayanika. It's very simple. Just install Telegram and join the Rasayanika group. At Rasayanika, we firmly believe that if we all join hands, definitely we will qualify CSIR NET exam. All right. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.